Hey guys, Ryan Howitzer here, and I just saw Avengers Age of Ultron. Guess what? It's phenomenal. Okay, this movie, it's got everything you want. It's got more of the witty dialogue that the first movie had. It's got action, really good cinematography, the characters are great, the villain is great. It's just awesome. Like, this movie made me feel like I was an 8-year-old boy sitting in front of the TV watching cartoons. I was glued to the screen the entire time. And I'm a little bit fidgety when I watch movies. You know, sometimes it's hard to get comfortable in the theater seats. I didn't move at all. I pretty much stayed like this, like in awe of what I was seeing. It's a really visually impressive movie, and the way that it was shot, like the opening scene, they're attacking a Hydra base, and it's just this tracking shot that goes to each Avenger as they take out some Hydra goons or something like that. It's just, oh, it's so good. It is so good, guys. My hat's off to Joss Whedon. My hat is literally off. I'm not wearing one. Why aren't you laughing? My hat's off to Joss Whedon, because, he did it again. He brought it. He gave us the perfect ensemble superhero movie. And superhero movies have not always had the best track record when they're ensemble pieces. As much as I love the first X-Men movie, Bryan Singer is very much guilty of going, alright, here's the two characters, or 2 or 3 characters we're going to focus on. Everyone else is pretty much just a prop with a few lines. Or a Deus Ex Machina. I mean, characters... When he makes an X-Men movie, certain characters don't get enough attention. If you saw Days of Future Past, you noticed pretty much all the mutants in the future were just there so that they could say they were there. What did Sunfire do in that movie? Did you even know Sunfire was in that movie? What did Warpath do? What did Blink do? If you walked into that movie not knowing anything about the X-Men, you wouldn't even know what I was talking about. They don't even get named. They show up. They're there. They're there. Whedon takes that in the complete opposite direction. Everyone gets screen time. Now, the one complaint I did have about Avengers was that they looked over Hawkeye. And this is the first Avengers movie. Hawkeye, I felt like they completely just brushed over him. This one really rectifies that. Hawkeye may, in fact, be the most developed character in the movie. But no, everyone gets their own screen time. Everyone kind of has their own arc. There are a couple complaints people had about this movie, and I'm going to address those directly. The first was that the romance between Banner and Black Widow was a little bit out of nowhere. It was. I mean, I didn't see it coming. Well, I did because I knew it was going to be in there. If I'd gone in just completely, I don't know anything about this movie, I would have. But I'd seen, like, the first Avengers movie, or I'd seen all the Marvel movies leading up to it. I wouldn't have gone, but I didn't read any of the articles or anything like that about Avengers Age of Ultron. I'd have gone in being like, oh, they're together? When did that happen? Did I miss a movie? But, they had chemistry. We've seen worse romances, let me put it that way. They're definitely not anything like Natalie Portman and Hayden Christensen and Attack of the Clones, or Peter Parker and Mary Jane in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. They've got chemistry. They work well together on screen. I don't know, it just felt a little bit unnecessary, and I understand that one. Another complaint that I kept hearing was that Ultron just they brushed over him becoming evil. They did. They did a little bit. However, I do stand by what Whedon did with Ultron. And apparently there's like an entire hour of missing footage It's going to end up in like an extended cut of the Avengers when it comes out. Sorry about that. But yeah, I mean, he did just kind of go, I'm alive. Humans are bad. But to be fair, they showed him reading over everything, and you can infer, you know, he's an AI. He can go through this stuff, like, in seconds. So he goes through all the records of human history, and then goes, okay, the problem's humans. You can almost justify that. Almost. But, I mean, those problems don't ruin the movie. They're not even noticeable. Those are nitpicks. Like, at best, those are nitpicks. Now, before... I try not to look at reviews before I go see the movie. I mean, if Nostalgia Critic sees the movie before I do, which usually he doesn't, oddly enough, but if he does, I will look at his review. Chris Stuckman. I always look at Chris Stuckman's reviews. And then I've got a friend named Ed, whose name you see in the credits. He gives good reviews on movies, and so I'll listen to his opinion, although the two of us differ. He didn't like the Lego Movie. Ed, if you're watching this, you're wrong. The Lego Movie's phenomenal. It is. But, yeah, I just, like, paused for 5 minutes there. But I try not to look at reviews. I don't look at the comment section. I mean, I do. If you comment on my video, I mean, yeah, I'm going to read your comment. I'm going to respond. But like on Facebook or IMDb may be the worst. I mean, I do, when I read reviews, I want to read reviews from people. I very rarely agree with critics, especially when it comes to superhero movies, because critics don't understand superhero movies. Like, I live in North Carolina. The local critic for the Charlotte Observer, I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, the local critic, Charlotte Observer, Lawrence Topman, he does not understand superheroes. I've read his reviews of superhero movies, he doesn't get it. And you know what? It's fine. Not everyone's going to get it. It's fine. I'm just not going to trust your reviews when it comes to superhero movies because you don't understand the genre. But I did look at a few reviews. Overwhelmingly positive, of course. I mean, like I said, this movie's great. Everybody loves it so far. But there are a few voices who are complaining that this movie didn't do anything new. How cynical do you have to be to go into a movie and if it doesn't do anything new, you just immediately write it off as it's garbage? 1 out of 10 did nothing new. I'm going to quote Total Biscuit here. If you don't watch Total Biscuit, you should. If you're not a PC gamer, okay, you shouldn't. But if you're a PC gamer, you should be watching Total Biscuit's videos. He said something really interesting about video games, but I think it applies to just about anything. You don't have to be innovative to be good. You can be good and derivative. That's fine. The James Bond movies. Not all of those James Bond movies break new ground. Most of them don't. I love them, though. I love most of them. I mean, like, I don't know, Goldfinger kind of broke ground, because it was an early one. But, I mean, The Spy Who Loved Me. The Spy Who Loved Me is a great James Bond movie. Did it do anything new? No. It was just a great Bond movie. So, I enjoyed it. It was enjoyable. Things can be enjoyable. You know, every once in a while, you just need a roller coaster. I mean, you guys know about roller coasters. I mean, you're human beings living in the 21st century. Of course you know about roller coasters. You walk up to the roller coaster line and you see the thing. You see all the twists and turns and you see where it starts and where it ends. and you see how long it takes people to get there. Usually like a couple minutes. When you're getting on the line for the roller coaster, do you go, oh, I see what it's gonna do, not getting on. Not gonna do it. 1 out of 10. Saw where it was going. Of course not. Why? Because the fun of the roller coaster is getting on it. That's what Age of Ultron is. Age of Ultron is a roller coaster. Even if you know, like, beyond a shadow of a doubt, what's gonna happen at the end of the movie, it's still a fun movie. It's a great movie. It's funny. There's lots of running jokes through the movie. The action's cool. It's a joy to watch. It made me happy. Movies that make me happy, I go in, watch the movie, and when I leave, I'm happier than when I went in. Those are rare. Sometimes I go into movies and I walk out way sadder. Either because the movie was sad or because the movie was horrible. But it was a fun movie. Did I know where it was going? Yeah, I pretty much knew where it was going. I know these characters. I'm not overly knowledgeable on Ultron, but, I pretty much knew. I knew what kind of the twists were going to be. That didn't take away from the movie, because the fun was getting to those. And seeing, what each actor did in those situations. Or seeing what kind of choices Whedon made behind the camera. That was the joy in the movie. And here's the other thing about Age of Ultron not breaking any ground. I don't think it was Age of Ultron's place to break any ground. I did not expect this movie to completely turn my expectations on their head and whatever. I expected a fun, awesome superhero movie, and I got one. Now, a lot of the reviews, I read them, they're saying Marvel's doing the same thing over and over. That's not true. If Marvel were doing the same thing over and over, every movie would be comparable to Iron Man, the first Iron Man. They're not. Each Marvel movie kind of does their own thing. Now, within franchises, you have, Iron Man 2 is very reminiscent of the first Iron Man movie. Iron Man 2 is okay. But Captain America the Winter Soldier, that completely destroyed the status quo of the Marvel Universe. That was new, and people loved it. I mean, it was new, and they loved it. Guardians of the Galaxy. We'd had humor in Marvel movies, but we hadn't had a Marvel movie that was that funny, but that awesome at the same time. It was just glorious. But then this year we get Daredevil on Netflix, and it breaks new ground because, one, it's on Netflix, which Marvel hasn't done anything on Netflix yet, and they're planning on doing more. But two, it was dark, it was grounded, you almost had to remind yourself that you were in the Marvel Universe. I thought that was amazing. But did I expect something similar from Age of Ultron? No. Not everything has to break new ground. I think it's a problem with my generation. We have short attention spans. We're 3 seasons into Arrow, and already they've done the Oliver Goes Dark thing. It's a little soon for that, in my opinion. But, you know what? It's working. They're doing it, so I'm not here to talk about Arrow. 40 issues into Batman, Scott Snyder's Batman run, he goes, alright, you know what? We're going to completely change it for issue 41. I'm not going to spoil anything in issue 40, for those of you who read Batman. DC Comics completely rebooted their line 3 years ago? I think 3 years ago. Yeah, 3 years ago. And now they're completely overhauling their line again. That's an incredibly short amount of time, especially when you consider A lot of those characters had the same continuity for 75 years. We've got short attention spans. And so we expect everything to be something new. And you know what? New is good, okay? Sometimes, yeah, you need something new. Not every movie should be Transformers, okay? I don't want every movie to be Transformers. That would suck. I don't want all the romance movies to be Nicholas Sparks cookie cutter romance stuff. I don't want all my action movies to be Michael Bay, explosions, weird camera angle, shaky cam, and stuff like that. I want new stuff. I mean, like action movies, we got Kingsman. Kingsman, where did that come from? Came from England. But sometimes you just need something classic. You know, something that sticks to what you know and lets you have fun with what you know. Going outside of the box is fine. But when outside of the box becomes the box, then you have a problem. So sometimes you just have to go back to basics. I think that's what Age of Ultron did. Now there's one other complaint that I want to address. A lot of people said that there were certain scenes that they felt were contractually obligated. Like, I don't know, Thor visiting the dream pool. And you know what? Yeah, they're set up for the other movies. We used to call that universe building. Now apparently there's something wrong with universe building. Now, according to a small minority of people. Yeah, maybe Thor going to the Dream Pit and going, heck's going on in Asgard, didn't have a whole lot to do with what was going on with Ultron, but at least Thor got screen time, okay? You take that part out, and then you have unequal screen time. Then it's the Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, Steve Rogers show. And pretty much everyone else gets ignored if you take stuff like that out. And yeah, there was a little bit of setup for, Civil War. But let's be honest, there was setup in Civil War and Avengers. Okay. When you have an interconnected universe, you're going to have scenes that build that universe. And some people say that, well, okay, we just shouldn't have interconnected universes. Okay, fine. That's your opinion. But right now, that's the thing. That's the thing to do. I think some people are pushing it a little too far. I just heard that we're going to have a 21 Jump Street Men in Black crossover. And that they're building a Ghostbusters universe. And that the Universal monsters are going to have their own shared universe? Okay. Alright. A little too far. But when you've got superhero comics, like the Avengers or the Justice League, these characters interact with each other. These characters build off of one another. And so having a shared universe not only makes sense, but it's almost a requirement. I mean, think about it this way. Dick Grayson starts off as Robin. When he grows up, he becomes Nightwing. How does he become Nightwing? Well, outside of growing up and leaving Batman, going off to college, Superman tells him about a hero who lived in Kandor, the city from Krypton. His name was Nightwing. Superman sometimes would take on the alter ego of Nightwing. And so when Robin becomes his own man, he takes on the moniker of Nightwing, which he got from Superman. That's what a shared universe gives you. I mean, there are things that Superman villains have done to shake up Batman's world. And there are things that Batman villains have done to shake up the DC universe at large. Joker kills a dude like a major player in an event comic, just because he didn't invite him to be part of the party. Without a shared universe, that kind of stuff doesn't happen. In the world of superhero comics, a shared universe is a necessity. And, I mean, outside of just character stuff, it's friggin' cool. Okay? It's cool to see all these heroes on the big screen, provided that they all get their due. It's just cool. Every time I see the Avengers, the first Avengers, and also in Age of Ultron, I'm just blown away by the fact that I live in a world where I can go to like a major chain store, pick up a DVD that has all my favorite superheroes in it, and it's popular. It's cool. It's cool to like superheroes. Nobody gives me flack for wearing shirts like this because superheroes are cool. I dig it. I love it. And I love that we're able to see all these superheroes on the screen together. So if you don't like it, you're entitled to your opinion. But the rest of us really seem to be enjoying it. And I really want to know why. Why don't you like it? And if you are the kind of person who you go to Age of Ultron and you see, okay, maybe the romance between Hulk and Black Widow wasn't handled very well, and that ruins the movie for you, have you forgotten how to have fun? Because the rest of the movie's great. I mean, that one part's a little but, I mean, okay. It's one part. There is not a perfect movie out there. Every movie has its flaws. You like those movies. I mean, you like, I don't know, you like The Godfather. Godfather's a phenomenal movie, but it's not perfect. Citizen Kane. Every film person loves Citizen Kane. I love Citizen Kane. It's a great movie. Citizen Kane has one of the biggest plot holes of a movie. Nobody's in the room when he says Rosebud. Then a nurse walks in. Coincidentally, she was able to hear Rosebud through the door. How? That's the plot hole. No one was in the room with him when he died. But you love that movie. Why can't you do the same for Age of Ultron? Why not? It's just one little facet of the movie. It hardly brings down the rest of it. Anyway, rant over. I hope I don't sound angry. I'm actually not. Anyway, Age of Ultron, brilliant. I loved it. I absolutely adored that movie. I'm really looking forward to Ant-Man. I'll be honest, I'm not looking forward at all to Fantastic Four. I think that movie's gonna suck, but we'll get to that when we get to it. So I guess I have to, give this movie a grade. You know what? I'm gonna give this movie a 9. A 9 out of 10. Okay. Because there hasn't been a movie this year, except maybe Kingsman, where I have just been glued to my seat, eyes forward, nothing can tear me away from it. And I went to see Kingsman with a girl, so I was distracted. Okay. I admit that. Kingsman, yeah, I love Kingsman. I paid a lot of attention to Kingsman, but I was a little bit distracted. Age of Ultron? There could have been a girl next to me, I wouldn't have even known it. I forgot who was sitting next to me, and I went with friends. I mean, the theater went off, the movie shut off, and I was like, oh, yeah, you guys are here. That's how into it I was. So yeah, 9 out of 10. I mean, it's got its flaws, but it's a phenomenal movie. And you really should see it. And if you're watching it on your computer and pirating it, don't. You horrible person. go see this movie in theaters. You owe it to yourself. Alright, guys. That's enough from me. Enough whining about superhero movies from me for today. The Daredevil review will be up shortly. It's my finals week, but I've only got one day of finals, so, okay, whatever. Yeah, I'm good on those. I'll be able to get it up next week. So yeah, that'll be out soon. I hope you guys enjoy that. So yeah, Age of Ultron, 9 out of 10. Go see it.